Welcome everybody to the Go Grava channel. So today I am pessimistically, or how should I say it? Pessimistically optimistic about 2025. And I'm going to get into what my predictions are for 2025 and talk about some of the stats for 24 and what I'm seeing on the ground as a bike shop and things like that. So let's get into it. So I was reading Bicycle Retailer magazine, and there was an article in there specifically about how many bike shops closed in 2024, and it was a pretty big number. Something over 500 bike shops closed in 2024, and that's probably like a 10% reduction in bike shops. And over that, and there was also other information like 115 different brands. Now, a lot of those are probably online e-bike brands, but you know, we've lost some brands over this past year, and it's been a rough 2 years for bike shops. So it's kind of crazy to think I would open a bike shop last year during this downtime, but I'll get into why I think things are going to change in the future. Now, specifically speaking, I think what we're going to see in 2025 is not that 500 number in bike shop closures. I mean, if it continues at that rate, we'll be out of bike shops in 5 years probably, but there are still going to be closures. We're not out of the woods yet. But it's not going to be as bad as the last 2 years. We're going to start seeing a recovery because online prices are going to be coming up, or at least stabilizing. I think there's going to be some things with the de minimis rule. Specifically, that's going to be lowered, which means AliExpress or cheap Amazon bikes are going to be harder to get your hands on for a discount. And not only that, I think you're going to see probably a lot of your traditional bike shops actually just give up on bicycles completely and just turn into complete e-bike shops. That's what we're going to see. And I say that because this summer, probably half of my store floor is going to be e-bikes, because that is what saved me in 2024 is e-bikes, selling e-bikes, e-bike repair, and e-bike maintenance. Now, I'm not giving up on cycling completely, even though it seems like a lot of people are buying bikes online. I may just have to raise my service rates on regular bicycles. Who knows where we're going to go? But I'm expecting more e-bikes. That's where the trend's at, right? That's where we're seeing 300% increases in the e-bike realm. So why wouldn't I just stock more e-bikes in my bike shop? Yeah. Next up. Okay, fine. So everybody's buying more e-bikes and they're buying bikes online, but there's still the maintenance service process of a bike shop, right? We can still make money off maintenance and fixing bicycles and things like that. So what I've done is just double down in 2025 on creating a whole second maintenance bay, expanding my maintenance workspace so it's like literally half of my floor. My store is 1,500 square feet, so 750 of that is really back on maintenance. So we now have electronic lift from Unior because we're getting monster bikes like this. This is an e-bike from Tracer out of California. Big, huge sucker, 90 pounds. But you know what? We're maintaining it because we can make money off of maintenance. And customers need, people need some maintenance done on their bikes. And same thing is I got to look at prices again for 2025. Do I raise maintenance prices again if I'm selling less actual bicycles on the floor? Because that's kind of the trade-off. If I don't sell bikes, rent still got to be paid, so my hourly labor rates are going to have to go up to cover the costs. So why would I be so foolish to take my life savings and everything I have to open a bike shop in such a terrible economic time? And let me get into that because I saw something from a BMX influencer on YouTube talking specifically like what's wrong with the bike industry or what are the problems that he's seeing just because so many BMX companies and other companies have ditched influencers or starting to ditch all these influencers and stuff because they're running out of money. Companies are running out of money to pay for advertising. The first thing that goes when you run out of money is your marketing budget. So traditionally speaking, let's say 15 years ago, this Venn diagram on the relationship between the industry and cycling looked like this. So you had the industries here. So that's the industry. And then you had riding here. And then the culture of cycling was on, and it was all compatible and together. And then what was the glue that held everything together was the bike shop. The bike shop was the thing that crossed industry to culture to riding, everything together. That's how we used to operate before maybe 10 or 15 years ago, is the bike shop was the glue to all of this. But what ended up happening in the last 10 to 15 years is these companies have, these conglomerates like Pawn Corporation have gotten so large and have bought all the bike brands and stuff like Santa Cruz and Cannondale and GT, and I mean, it just goes on and on and on. They've gotten so big that this is what we have right now. Let me erase this. So since the industry has gotten so big, let's say that's the industry, pretty much what we see now is riding and culture really have gotten absorbed into the industry, or the industry's taken over a lot of that riding and culture and stuff like that. So you only have these little slivers now right here, and the bike shop's getting pulled or getting squeezed and is less prominent, and their margins are getting squeezed and everything's getting squeezed. That's why there's kind of like this whole thing of discontent maybe with cyclists and stuff is mostly because the industry's gotten so large with so many brands, is they've absorbed with their money the riding and the culture, taken it on, pushed all this money into these areas to take ownership of it, and it feels maybe less authentic and things like that. So what I think is going to happen is, since these bike companies are losing money and can't really support all of this stuff like they've been controlling, it's going to go back to where it was. As everything shrinks because we've been losing money, or the industry has been losing money, riding and culture are going to end up coming back to where they were. And this is why I wanted to be part of this, is the bike shop will be more important than ever in the future of getting people back together and bridging the gap between e-bikes and commuter bikes and mountain bikes and gravel bikes. Because let's be honest, folks, things have gotten so complicated in cycling over the last 10 years. Now there's like 10 speed, 11 speed, 12 speed. SRAM's coming out with 13 speed, which is, I think is a horrible idea. Okay, now we're into the predictive part of what I think is going to happen in 2025. So let's get, well, I've talked about some of that, but let's get into my predictions to some level. Now, I have no idea, whatever I'm saying is going to come true. If I could predict the future, I'd be a trillionaire by now. And obviously I'm not a trillionaire. I'm just some broke guy in a bike shop who's running a bike shop now. But this is a Shimano GRX 12 speed, and the SRAM Red system came out with a 13 speed. And it looks like normally what happens is Red gets the 13 and then they'll bleed that down the line. But I got to be honest, folks, one of my predictions for 2025 is that 13 speed is going to fall flat. It's just not exciting. Campanolo had a 13 speed. Did anybody get excited about that? I don't think so. Honestly, from a product perspective, you should have just went right to 14 speed, drop 13 like a hotel elevator drops the 13th floor. I mean, seriously, not that excited about 13 speed. What would have got me excited, or what I hope would come out in the future, is quick connect and disconnect systems for disc brakes. I mean, if we could develop that, that would be awesome. Because I got to tell you, when you're running internal cables and stuff on these hydraulic disc brakes, having a quick connect or disconnect system would be fabulous. I do a lot of brake bleeding in the bike shop, and it's just not very, hydraulic brakes, whether it's DOT 5.1 or mineral oil, are not very friendly to use, and I think a quick connect system would work. So I would hope to see that in 2025. Okay, my next prediction, or things I'm expecting to change in 2025, let's talk about wheels and tires. Actually, let's not talk about wheels and tires. I have nothing to say about wheels and tires at all. I mean, we have every single size. Rim widths are increased. Like, I don't think there's anything new going to be coming out with wheels and tires at all. Really. But the interesting thing, since we have some 2.1 gravel tires on this hardtail mountain bike, this Merino chassis, let's talk about that for a second. So recently GCN was talking about gravel bikes approaching the mountain bike realm with the shocks and the droppers and all these things, and they're right. There's shocks and droppers and stuff going on gravel bikes. It might seem like gravel is kind of approaching the mountain bike terrain, and will the mountain bike family absorb the gravel family? And I think that will not happen. This is what I think is going to happen for 2025. As you can see here, we have a hardtail mountain bike frame. I think the gravel family steals the hardtail mountain bike and makes it a gravel bike. Putting drop bars on a hardtail is really cool with a 100mm travel front shock. This is a gravel machine, or can be turned into a gravel machine, so I wouldn't be surprised that we start seeing more hardtail mountain bikes joining the gravel family and maybe saying temporarily goodbye to the mountain bike family. The next thing I believe we're going to see is more and more bike shops moving to non-traditional things in a bike shop, right? Like these GoTrack scooters here. So recently, when we look at a company like Segway's coming out with the e-bike. They almost have something that looks like an e-motorcycle. They have scooters, and traditionally they have not worked with independent bike dealers or independent shops, just because I probably need to do a video on retail and how hard it is to sell in Walmart and Target and Amazon and things like that, because there's so many penalties, REI, so many penalties on margin and so many penalties on chargebacks, but I won't get into that specifically. But recently we've seen Segway hire a bunch of people, salespeople from Orbea, and also one person from Giants working with Segway. So you're gonna start seeing more companies like that, like GoTrax here that make scooters and e-bikes, Segway. You're gonna start seeing names that survive this bicycle recession and this e-bike issue. Really, the e-bike issue is just so many people, so many companies grew. We're getting through the chaff now and getting to the quality products. They're gonna be sticking around, and some different names are gonna be sticking around. So you're going to see some new names and different things in your bike shop, I believe, because I move scooters and we make a decent amount of money on the margin with fixing flat tires and repairing brakes and things like that. And we're not afraid to take on any e-bike or scooter project and see if we can fix something. So that's something you're going to see more of because it's just too much of a penalty to put your scooters and stuff in Walmart and Target and REI and Dick's. There's huge penalties there for a business, and the margin squeeze is a bit less at an independent bike dealer, where like Walmart or REI takes 50% margin. You know, we might take 30% margin, and not only that, we can fix these. If you give us the resources, we can fix your stuff, which is less customer service work you have to do on your end, less shipping of items, better for the environment, honestly. And yeah, so we're, as a bike shop, expect to see more and more of these companies, sales reps coming out to you to see if you want to sell their bicycle. The only guidance I would give you is what I do specifically is I just make sure they have warehousing and the supply chain for parts. I mean, that's the most important thing. You can buy an e-bike, a cheap e-bike online, but if you can't get parts for it, which happens a lot, and fix it, well, what's the point of spending money on it? You might as well get something like GoTrax, which has a pretty robust supply chain. Segway probably does too. VeloWave's another company I carry. They're very responsive. They warehouse parts in the United States on both coasts, so it makes it a lot easier for me to swap parts and replace things and troubleshoot things. So yeah, that's, if you own a bike shop, that's really your only question for these companies is how robust is your parts and your parts chain. So let's move on to AliExpress and some of the tariffs and stuff. All right, folks, before we get to tariffs, I gotta show you something my kids got me for Christmas. Check this guy out. It's a Grava. Me, does it look like me? It's a bobblehead. Look at that. I love this thing. They didn't have to buy me anything else. Best Christmas present ever. All right, Mr. Aaron bobblehead guy. Sit right there. Okay, let's talk about tariffs and trade wars and war. Well, just trade wars. I won't get into war. But Yes, tariffs are coming. Now, I don't think the numbers that are being thrown around is what we're actually going to see for tariffs. It's going to be something below that. You wouldn't start with 100% tariff, I don't think. You'd go lower, but it's only up for increase after 2025. And there's de minimis, which I mentioned before. De minimis is what is the rule for people overseas shipping products into the United States to an individual consumer. So de minimis states, which is part of like international shipping laws and postal laws, it's in that package set somewhere, is that if a company, say in China, sells a product and it's under $800, they don't have to collect company information, they don't have to collect social security numbers, they don't have to pay tariffs, and they don't have to pay any import taxes or things like that. So that's what AliExpress, Temu, Shein uses. That de minimis rule of $800 will get reduced. I don't know what it's going to get reduced to. Wouldn't surprise me if it's less than $100. That's going to kill all your drop shipping people that use AliExpress to drop ship, and it's going to kind of kill AliExpress in general because for them to ship higher end products, they're going to have to ask for somebody's social security number before it comes into the US, and people are just not going to give their social security numbers to AliExpress. I just don't see that happening. And with that change, you're going to see companies like that are making okay products right now, like L2 and some of these other Chinese companies, they're going to get squeezed. So they are going to have to come out and find like QBP or JBI or some other BTI, some other distributor to carry their products for them to sell to bike shops. So this open market, you know, I don't see it working out very well, and I think those cheaper goods and those cheaper components that people are buying are just not going to survive 2025. That's my prediction. And these companies will either have to set up companies in the United States, do like the other ones who are surviving right now and not going out of business, get an East Coast, get a West Coast warehouse, do your marketing, get a sales team together and start selling your product properly in the United States as a registered business, not through AliExpress, because it's just not going to work. The margins are too tight to withstand those tariff increases that are coming our way. So what else is happening, or I think going to happen in 2025? Okay, lastly, let's just summarize this really quick on what I think's going on and what I've heard and how I disagree with some people's thoughts. Let me just talk about my disagreements of what I hear everybody saying online and about how the cycling industry is being greedy and the prices are too high and they did this to themselves and blah, 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 blah. I get it. You know, I get the mentality. I know what you're saying. Like the higher, it goes back to what I was talking about before. When the industry got so big, it's kind of sucking up culture and writing. And if the industry is controlling culture and writing, which is what you see on social media, they're going to be pushing the highest end stuff ever. That's all you're going to see online is this very high end stuff because the industry is so big, it's kind of sucked everything in. And that's not what's really going on. What's really going on is it's the economy. It's as simple as that. It's the economy. The economy is not great. Hasn't been great for a couple of years now. Inflation has really eroded people's purchasing power. So even though I'd like to sit there and beat up on Specialized or Track or any of those companies out there, it's really just the economy. The economy is driving all of this. The 550, 600 bike shop closures, the 115 bike brands going away. It's really just the economy. I mean, if you're a person who like works for the health industry in a hospital, or you have a government job, or you're working for a company that's been doing well and weathering the storm in IT or anything like that, and you still have a job, well, you're one of the lucky people, because as a person who owns a bike shop, I get a bigger view of the demographics, and I have a better feel of what's going around, what's happening in the community around me. And what I'm seeing is that there's a portion of people that are doing just fine, everything's doing just fine, but 70% of people in the economy are not doing good at all, not at all. And I don't know how that gets fixed, but until that is fixed, until the US economy starts picking back up, and the stock market is not the economy, folks, until that general economy, the middle class, economy increases, this is not going to be fixed. The bike shop issues and the sales slumps we have in the bike shop are not going to be fixed. Now, why am I pessimistically optimistic? Well, because I'm a brand new bike shop. My worst sales year is going to be last year, 2024. First year of opening a bike shop, very, very difficult times for me. E-bikes saved me when I brought them in July, and I feel like putting half my floors e-bikes and still supporting the community with regular bikes is going to work. Focusing on culture, focusing on building riding back up, that is going to be the keys to success for my bike shop in the future. And it's going to turn around. We have these low times, these bad times. If you're going through tough times, when you go through these times, it really helps define what good times look like, right? Like, not everything is always bad. It's not always bad. You're not always in a rut. Things are not always bad. Things will get better. Things will improve. And with this reduction, we've seen the exact same thing during the dot-com bubble. It was horrendous, but Amazon came out of it. A lot of big Starbucks came out of that. I mean, a lot of companies. We got the iPod, the iPod. We got the iPod turned into the iPhone. A lot of great things happened, even though the economy shrank after the dot-com bubble. We came out of that, we're stronger than ever. Now, we did have that housing crisis in the US, but we were the only country that really had a major housing crisis. Right now, overseas, all the other countries are having housing crisis. We are kind of having one too, because the prices are so high. But I don't think it's as systematically or structurally as bad as these other countries are having it. Like, China's economy is collapsing. Europe and the UK are having a hard time. There's a euro-dollar shortage in the global market in general because the Federal Reserve, even though we're spending tons of money, interest rates are up, which causes a dollar shortage overall, which squeezes other countries' currencies. You can see Japan fighting to keep their currency alive. Like, Australia's got real big challenges coming up, so does the UK. When I went to Germany in 2000 and 2002, it was $1.32 or 33 cents to a euro, and that's down near a dollar again. So the dollar is crushing people, and it's not going away. And we got to get through this disaster that we went through with COVID and overspending and overabundance and oversupply, and we will hit an equilibrium soon. I don't think 2025 is just going to skyrocket back up, but I believe the worst times are behind us. And now we get to decide as business owners and bike shops, how do we want to move forward with our business models to better support our communities, cycling or scooters or e-bikes, in a way that is beneficial to our business and beneficial to the community. That's why I am pessimistically optimistic. Okay. Thanks for listening to my ramblings, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 2025. All right, till we talk again, bye.